So good afternoon, wherever you are in the world today, morning, afternoon. Welcome back to this session, which is about getting the most out of Custom Report. Just as a kind of refresh, we were actually here, the team at Vizlib here in headquarters, we're very surprised with the amount of people that we saw join, and we were really pleased. We had a lot of questions we couldn't answer. So again, just a quick recap. What we've done is we've taken some of those questions, we've loaded them up into Slido here. We are going to answer those live. So the really quick way of doing it is you can go to slido.com and there's a number that you can see on the screen. Or if you take a picture with your phone of that QR code, that will take you right there. We've only got 15 minutes today, so I'm going to spend less on introducing Michael, who's our head of product out of Stockholm, or myself, who's Al, and I'm based in, I think I mentioned, in London. I think we're going to dive straight in and start answering these questions. But you are the most important people here. So, like we say, we just as a recap, we've loaded up some of the questions that we couldn't get to answer. Please feel free to add new questions. And then you can actually, there's a feature that you can uplink and like. And we loaded some of those up from last time. I see that people have already been liking them. I think that's probably the right time to start now, Michael, and just dive straight in. How can you group dimensions or measures in the left-hand panes?
Yep. So what I'm going to do here, just so you can see it, I'll keep the questions up here. Do vote for these other ones, as Al mentioned, because that will bring them up higher. So I will start from the top and go top to bottom. So if you upvote things that are further down on this list of questions, they will get higher in priority. So feel free to vote by liking them. Okay, cool. So how to group dimensions or measures. What that person most likely is talking about is this little feature where we can group dimensions and measures so that they are grouped together. So for example, group all datetime, group all geography, or whatever it is. And this is really easy to do. So if you wanted to do that on the first page as well, what we could do, we go into edit mode, we go into the data set, we have a section called groups under settings. We allow group by tags. And now, as you can see, now we have these groups out here. This comes from two things. This comes from the setting here, which is the group tag prefix, and it also comes from reading that inside the master item. So if we have a look here, we see we have month. Okay, so let's take a look at the master item for month. You will see that we have a tag which starts with CR group. So CR group date and time. This means that it takes the prefix of CR group, and then here it takes CR group and puts that into date time. As you then probably understand, this means that you can also add multiple groups and use them as many groups as you want for each dimension. And we got a question in on that. So when I add new measures group, I always have to reorder my groups. Oh yes, you do have to reorder them every time you add one. Unfortunately, yes. There is no way to avoid that. The sorting is done here for those that don't know how to do that. But yeah, unfortunately, I think that we have a sort of, that there is a feature that we could improve there, but you need to change them every time you change the group. So that means that we have now actually answered that question, and we actually have answered that question as well.
And so wisdom of crowds there, Michael. So how do you connect the button to export as data from the custom report?
So this question. Now, this is the button that we're talking about. So data, export a PDF, whatever it is that you want to do. So the way that it works is obviously if you press that button, you get an export to PDF. The setting for that is under settings. You have customizable buttons, and then you have to enable customizable buttons, and then you can add customizable buttons. You have one for data, one for PDF, and one for zero values here. So if we look at the one for PDF, we further down here, scroll down a little bit, and we have a number of actions. And you can add actually multiple actions to each button, so it can actually do multiple things. But for simplicity here, we have one thing. Then you go in and you have a list of things. At the bottom, you have things starting with CR. These are the ones that are specific for doing things inside the custom report. You could use any of the other actions as well, but the ones starting with CR are the ones specific to custom report. And I think I mentioned this really quickly in the other webinar as well, that please feel free to sort of ask us about more things that you want to be able to do on a single click in custom report, and we should be able to add them here to the actions. So that's how you do it. I think that one is answered.
I'm gonna, Michael, and I know we got 4 votes on the next couple of questions. I'm going to actually ask a question from latest, which is, I know something that's dear to your heart. Do all your extensions work in QlikSense SaaS?
Okay, so we have this one then, right? Yeah. Yes, all our extensions work in Qlik SaaS with a few sort of exceptions. So when we look at Qlik SaaS, it's obviously a different environment. It's something that you obviously have to be aware of and know of. All of our extensions work, especially the visualizations. It's quite straightforward. They work very well in SaaS. One limitation, which is there for all extensions, is that export, or if you right click and export to image or export to PDF in Qlik SaaS, that is not available yet. It's something that Qlik is blocking, that they have promised to provide an API for back in December. They haven't yet, so hopefully they will do that, or we will have to create something on our own. We're now investigating solutions to do that on our own for Qlik SaaS, since it seems to be such a big delay. So that's one limitation that we have. The other extensions are working. There are some limitations around Vizlib server, where we now have released a Vizlib server that works with SaaS, so you can even do write back. Finance and teamwork are coming a little bit later for SaaS. There is also a page on our help site on our web that explains exactly the differences between SaaS and the normal Qlik Enterprise. So the limitations list is there. Something that we can probably share after this webinar as well if needed. So feel free to ask us about that. Yep, that's us. Back more to sort of the custom report type questions. So we have defer layout update. Are there limitations on how that works? So I'm not sure what the question is around the limitations on how that works, but how it works is that when we enable defer layout update, we still get the visualization up, but when we click on something, it doesn't immediately update the visualization. This is really good for when you have larger data sets, because you don't want everything to sort of be sent to the Qlik engine and ask the Qlik engine a lot of questions unless you really want to visualize it. So now you could sort of make your selections of dimensions and measures, and once you're done, then you press update layout. And then it actually asks Qlik the question to give us the data and show us the visualization. So not really any limitations. It will sort of wait for your clicks. If you make normal selections, it will still update. So just like Qlik works normally, it will still update. But the selections inside the custom report of the dimensions and measures, essentially setting up the visualization, that is waited for until we're done. So done on that one. So are table data sets or non-table data sets better in terms of performance? My experience is strongly in favor of table data sets. There should be no difference. There seems to still be some potential differences in how we read it. When we have things like 100 dimensions or measures, I think we're being a little bit inefficient on how we read those. So there could be in those cases where we have a lot of dimensions and measures. This will be fixed in an upcoming version where we will improve that. So there shouldn't be any difference. In general, I would want people to use the non-table data sets because they're easier to manage and handle, and also easier to set up, especially in terms of performance, since if you're setting up a huge table, it could be a little bit difficult to actually do that with all those dimensions and measures that you need because of performance, because it would take too long to calculate it unless you make a really small selection. So I would prefer people using non-table data sets if you have, let's say, 50 ish dimensions and measures. Yeah, if that's slow, then try the table data set. But yeah, I would prefer the non-table ones. How do you set the default visualization to a table? Yes, so quite simple. You select a table. Oh, actually, we should go into a different page where this is easier to see. So you go in, you select the table, and then if you want this to be the default, the way it works is that for each data set, there is a default. So if we're in, we could go into, yeah, let's go into this one. So if we're in this data set, then we can save the default state. If we save this default state with table enabled, then table will be the default. You can then also control exactly what visualizations are shown. So obviously you have some settings for the visualization types, and these checkboxes here means that you can deselect the things that you don't want people to use. So if you wanted people to only use the table in the custom report, you could do that by just unclicking all of these boxes and just saying, hey, we just want them to be able to use table. So that's how presets worked. So should make it easier then. So how do you set the default visualization on table? I think we answered that. So
Yeah.
done. How to activate the option defer layout update? I think we already showed that. So we simply just go in to the settings. Maybe I didn't show the actual setting how we do it. So the best way to find things, by the way, is to search, go in, and then we can find defer layout update, and we can enable it or disable it. So it's a neat trick for anything. In most Vizlib visualizations already have this search feature in the property panel that native Qlik don't have, but it's a really good way of finding the right setting. So go in there, activate it, and it's done. Can we set bookmarks in custom report? Why is it improving performance? Yeah, we talked about this last time, that actually setting bookmarks could help with improving the performance. One thing with bookmark. Let's first explain. Yes, we can set bookmarks. So go in, select the bookmark that you've used before, of course, or you can create a new bookmark. This works just like bookmarks work in Qlik Sense. So we're just sort of tagging on to what's already there. So if you want to create a new bookmark, you just go in and create a new bookmark. The reason I mention this in relation to the performance is that it means that we can limit the amount of clicks that a user has to do. And if we limit the amount of clicks the user does, we also limit the amount of requests that need to be sent to the Qlik server, unless, of course, we're using the defer layout update option. But if we're in sort of normal mode of Qlik Sense, what obviously happens is that every time that we click on something here, it will send a request to the Qlik engine for that information, and it will try to render it. If we have a number of bookmarks where the user directly can choose a bookmark, come to the right visualization, we will limit the number of clicks that needs to be done and the number of requests that need to be done. So that's why it improves, and yes, we can set them.
So, Michael, we're at 14 minutes past. So I know we're trying to keep these to that you know, the mini snackable. Kind of over to you. What we've got some upvotes, but are there any questions there that you'd really like to answer, or things that you'd think the team would like, the team would like to see?
I think we can keep going for the top ones, so it should be fine. Measures in custom report calculated at sheet load time, or when the user adds them. So when the user adds them, the first selection that is made will be calculated as soon as you open the page. So that's also why it's a little bit important how you set the default. So typically try to set the default with like 1 or 2 measures and 1 or 2 dimensions and make it simple so that the first load is quick. But then nothing is asked to the Qlik engine until you actually select that in the table UI. So measures are not calculated until we sort of ask for them on demand. We have added calculation conditions in our apps for performance improvements, like selected a country or a year. Will this work as well? To an extent, it's a little bit tricky to do calculation conditions on something that is completely dynamic. So we don't know what dimensions you have selected. So creating an expression that really works for everything here would be kind of tricky, because then you would have to sort of know exactly what you have selected and combine that with the right Qlik expression. We do have a setting for it. So there is a setting for a calculation condition. Let's see if I can find that. Calculation condition. No, it's not there. Let's see. Where is it? Here. So you have a calculation condition, but obviously you need to consider how you do this. But yeah, you could use it. Could potentially build something even more advanced here, but it would be difficult to use, I guess, in most situations because it's completely dynamic. Is custom reports supported by imprinting? It works since it prints. Supported? Not really. I don't think it makes any sense, because it is about dynamic reporting and actually being able to select reports. If you wanted to print a report and have it printed, you could definitely start from the custom report, but then you would probably, let's say I wanted this table, then you would probably start with this and then perhaps do something with it. Like you could take this and export this object to a new sheet so that it actually becomes a proper table. So if we do that, then we have that table on a new sheet in the same app, and then we could put that in a report. So actually putting something which is dynamic by nature and self-service by nature into imprinting doesn't really make perfect sense. So related question there coming in on, can you force a dimension to be selected all the time so you can count it on? No, you can't. That's actually a request that we've had a couple of times. Send in that feature request and we'll add it to one of the things. I do see a point in that from other perspectives as well. It is a little bit Pandora's box because it means that we could do difficult things to the users, but yeah, potentially that's something that we could do. Because now, no, you can't, but you can, of course, set presets in a way that works well. So for presets, yes, but for other things, perhaps not. So we answered that. Restrict certain charts in the sense that you could choose not to be allowed to use them, yes, not in any other way. Can we limit the number of dimensions or measures selected to show? No, not really. Back to the old how calculation conditions are done. And the same thing for limiting on dimensions. I think we kind of covered that. And the custom report is a tremendous asset that contributes to the self-service nature of Qlik Sense. A must-have. Amazing. Thank you for that one. Not really a question, so I won't answer. Is the defer layout feature available in other Vizlib objects? No, it's not. It would perhaps be a little bit difficult to sort of make that a nice user experience in other situations, but I get how that could potentially make sense. Don't think it's something that we would do. Imprinting we talked about. Are there more visualization packages in the pipeline for custom report? I guess some specific ones like box plot and line charts are not available. No, that's true. We haven't added any in a while. We haven't gotten any requests for them either, to be honest. We can add things here. We're more likely to add things from our own visualizations because that's easier and easier to maintain than the Qlik ones. But feel free to add that as a feature request and we'll consider it. And that's it. And we are a few minutes over time, but not too bad, I think.
Michael, I like the fact actually you did get to you sped up and you managed to get through all those questions, and I think that's nice. So we will wrap up now. Want to thank everyone that's joined us again today. We will be doing more of these sessions because we realise that just by the footfall and you guys joining, that these are very valuable. I love the way, Michael, that we are asking you questions and you're going and demonstrating that. That's good. That's good. And I've picked up a couple of things, so I really appreciate that. If you have any other topics for kind of discussion or you'd like us to focus on, obviously you're here because you had a personal invite from Julie and the customer success team. Please keep those, give us some suggestions if there's any options that you'd like to see, points covered, areas covered. We've got a few of these set up, but again, it's that wisdom of crowds, and any suggestions you've got, please keep them coming. But from the team here, thanks for your time today.
Thank you very much. Thanks, everyone.